Hey, so welcome back to TWC Projects today. Hopefully it's going to be a fairly quick one, but we're working on my old 2010 Audi Turbo Quattro. Last time you saw me working on this, I was fixing the steering clock sensor. Today we're going to try replacing the breather PVC unit, and I'll talk more about why and what that is as soon as we get the cover off and start taking things apart. So let's get to it. All right, so let's talk about why we're doing this. First, I'm just going to pop that cover off, and here's where the unit goes right here. And to the best of my understanding, and a lot of where I get my knowledge from on this stuff is from Naptown Tuner. He's fantastic. He's the king of the 2.0 VW Audi 2-liter motor and other Audi stuff. He's definitely the guy. He's got a lot of knowledge. But anyway, he talked about this, and I'd also seen somewhere else where somebody had replaced this to help with the oil consumption problems, which is what the issue with this motor still is. It tends to still like to drink some oil, even though it doesn't leak it anywhere. It doesn't seem to smoke anymore, but I still haven't gotten everything worked out yet. So this breather unit, evidently oil kind of gets pushed up from underneath. The motor circulates through, and anyway, it kind of separates it. There's a PVC valve up underneath here, as well as there's some type of a valve in here as well. And evidently what happens is it kind of gets the gases and so forth out of the engine and recycles it, and the oil is supposed to kind of drip back down into the engine. But if that valve's not working correctly and some of the oil is instead, or this air pressure is going back through here, and I mean, I'm not really describing this correctly, because when it's naturally aspirated, the air is simply flowing through this way. When the turbo kicks in, this valve is supposedly closes, and the rest of the air goes through this other hose that you'll see is going to end up, it's underneath here, but it's going to go down around there. So it's going to be this guy. So this sits right in here and goes down around there. So when the turbo kicks in, the air flows through here, and the air pressure goes back through. So anyway, either way, if this valve isn't working correctly, some of that oil can end up getting sucked in with the air into the intake, or through the turbo into the intake. Either way, it's putting oil up into the engine, which is then burning it. So I don't know if that's going to fix the problem or not, but this thing was only the whole kit, with both the hoses and the breather unit with PVC valve in it. Everything was $36, so why not do it? Not very expensive and worth, and not a very hard project either. So, which is what we'll see today. So we pulled the cover off, and now we're going to go ahead and pull out the, try to disconnect and remove, or pull it out of the way at least, the wire harness that goes to our coil packs. I'll go down. Of course, the spark plugs are down there, so we don't need to do anything with spark plugs. But I believe we do need to take this harness out of the way, because the breather goes underneath it, as you can see, under here and under here. So we'll take that off, and I think that's all we need to do. And then, of course, take out all these screws that hold this thing in, and then disconnect the clips on these, and that should be it. So that's what we're going to do. I'll probably do that a little bit fast forward, and but I thought I'd tell you ahead of time so you knew what we're up to and why we're doing it. So that's oops. So that's the project. Let's get to it. All right, so to this point, we popped all these little clips, and you'll see, like, on one side there's gray, so you can kind of, you pull that little clip up. Hopefully you can see that right under my finger now. And then on this other side, you just reach in and you squeeze and pull up at the same time. And so the ones that are black, you just kind of, like I said, you just kind of squeeze them and pull them straight out. Like, they, knowing how they come, you know, that they come out straight, they'll come out pretty clean. You don't want to damage the wire. And I always seem to forget one on each end, so you might have saw me having to go back and do that. The next thing to keep in mind is all the screws that I'm taking out, which I think there are 9 of them. These are all Torx, they're T30 heads on the star heads on those. Same with on the air cleaner that I took off, and this is just a 7mm. So I took that off as well so that I can get down in here, because I've got to get to, these are going to be the tricky part right here. So there's a screw on this side, and hopefully it's pretty dark, and then there's one on the other side as well down in here, and I don't know if it'll focus if you can see that down there, but anyway, those have to come off in order to get this guy. Oh, actually, you know what, this is different. I might have the wrong part on this end. Let's see what that looks like. Maybe I'm if that doesn't come off, I'll just ignore this hose. And I shouldn't say ignore. I'll only unhook it from here and reuse. I'll just see how, if it's dirty inside or not. But this one you can see pretty well right now. Look how wet it is inside there. So there's clearly oil coming through this and out, which makes me think that the valve isn't closing correctly. And when the turbo kicks in, it's just blowing oil right up into the intake, instead of instead of forcing the air back down, the pressure back down to the turbo. So possibly this will help. Worth trying for sure. So anyway, I'll keep at it in a little bit faster speed, but I thought I would let you know, if you're trying to do this yourself, what you needed, and hand tighten them down, and, you know, stagger crosswise as you go throughout, because as you can see, there is a gasket on the bottom of this thing. You want even pressure. You don't want to squish it out one side by cranking that side down. So we'll be careful when we put that back together. But that's what's next. Yeah, there's a lot of oil in there too. I think we're onto something here. I don't know if you can see. It's definitely a lot of oil. It's going to be here, I expect, anyway, but it shouldn't be going out through those valves down to the hoses. So all right, so that's it. We took out the old breather, and the oil inside is normal. It's supposed to be there, but I don't believe the oil is supposed to be coming out through the hoses, because the valve, this valve here, and the other valve that controls the other side, is supposed to block the oil from flowing out. So the oil should stay self-contained and go back down, drip back down into the block. So I think that might be part of the problem. I've seen people before where they've had issues where they could see the oil leaking out from underneath the gasket. I didn't have that problem, but this gasket was good. This breather doesn't look that bad, but I think it was faulty. You know, these rubber parts are just going to wear out, so depending on how old, and of course this car is 15 years old, maybe this is not the original. I don't know. I don't have any records that show that this was replaced, but I'll add it to my records. So we've replaced that today. You saw really all we had to do, and in fact, because this hose that I got from eBay, this end was correct, but this end was not. So I left the old one on there, which means you know, it has some oil in it. But that'll burn off, I guess, and hopefully there isn't any more going out through there. The valves are working properly on this new one. So you also saw that we needed to disconnect the coil packs and unplug them from the, or excuse me, the harness, and then unplug them from the coil packs themselves. I had to take off the last two coil packs, and they're in there really tight, but you carefully work them up and you pull them out. So I pulled both of those out, and so I could get to the other screws that were down inside here. I also took a little bit of the oil and rubbed it around the gasket, which, you know, you've seen me do, and everybody does. Hopefully everybody does. If you just put this on the bare metal, there's a chance it'll start to harden faster. So anyway, just took my finger, rubbed the oil all around the gasket to keep it nice and a little bit, you know, less brittle, hopefully, in the long run, and put it back on and tightened everything back down, hooked up the hose. And like I started to say, because this part was different from what I got, which isn't the main issue anyway, it's going to be the valves inside. There's two valves inside this thing. So I left that hose in place. But you still needed to take, you know, of course, the screw. Whoop. Of course, you still needed to take this screw out for the wire harness that goes to the coil packs. This you could have left in place, but if you were replacing that hose, then you'd want to do what I did with taking the air cover off, and you might even need to take the rubber hose out. I think you can get to it without doing that, but it makes it a lot easier to navigate and move around down here. So anyway, put that back, put everything back, and we're gonna. Oh yeah, we started up, tested it out, and then put this cover back on, which just snaps into place, but I need two hands to kind of line it up. And there's like the little holes in the bottom, those rubber pieces that seat right in. So we're just going to get that, and it's easy. You align it up with the oil filler, and then everything goes right in, locks in. So we're going to just I won't record it, but I'm just going to top off the oil, make sure it's right where it's supposed to be, and reset the trip counter and see if this improves my oil consumption problem. I didn't actually make a video of doing the Berryman's 12. I think that's what it's called, Berryman's. I don't know if I have a can around of it left or not, but it's basically a treatment, and there's so many videos. That's why I didn't make one. There's just a ton of them on the internet, and it seems to help. So anyway, I did that where you pull your spark plugs out, you put in this chemical, and then you let it set, and it kind of soaks down through the rings and tries to help clear out some of the rings in the cylinder heads, as well as it clears out some of the carbon in the engine itself. You do this, and you do cycles of it, and you take a wrench and you crank the engine over a little bit to move the pistons, and you put more in, and then you let it set another. So it's like a 24-hour treatment, and then you put your old spark plugs back in, put it all back together, run it for like 30 minutes. Just let it just burn. Like it'll just, first it's really hard to start up. But anyway, you can watch the whole thing. I won't try to describe it to you because I'm only telling you a part of the picture. But it definitely helped the black smoke problem when I would accelerate quick before, jump on the gas at all of a sudden plume of black smoke would come out the back. Once I did the treatment, and at the end of that you end up putting in all new spark plugs, And then I also put another can right into the gas tank and ran it through the gas to help kind of clear out the other lines and the injectors and everything else. So stuff seems to be pretty good. I mean, it's $4 a can. There's some labor to doing it, but it's not a big deal. And it's really inexpensive to potentially help improve the problem. So I think it got rid of, I haven't seen smoke come out of this thing since I did that. And it may need to be done, every year or so. I'm not sure. But at this point, though, hopefully between what I just changed out, the breather, and the Berryman treatment that I did before, hopefully I've improved it overall, and it doesn't need oil as often as it is right now. So it's hard to do much more because the car runs so well, everything works so well. I hate messing with something that is just a nuisance, but I'm sure it's got to be doing damage over time. I shouldn't say I'm sure, but I expect that oil's got to be burning and somewhere and building carbon somewhere, and could be building up in the catalytic converter. I'm not sure. So anyway, I'm trying to address it, and really the best solution, head rebuilds and all that stuff, is, I don't know. You can get a crate motor for about $4,000, a brand new motor, and you just disassemble everything you got off of this, put the new motor in, but it'll have a lot of the main parts. In fact, it even comes with that breather on it, on that crate motor. But that would be kind of the final, if you wanted a permanent long-term solution, and you're willing to spend that money. But the car itself, it isn't worth but so much. Putting that new engine in there won't really increase the value too much of it. Not $4,000 worth. So that's something you have to decide if you want to do long term. Anyway, enough talking. I'll wrap this up. I said this would be a quick video, so thank you so much for joining me as always, helping me to create things. In this case, maybe hopefully fix things. And we didn't really get to enjoy God's creation outside today, but it does look like it's getting nice now. It was a little gloomy when we started this video, but it looks nice now. So anyway, I appreciate you coming along with me. And until next time, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you on the next project.